Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Travel Fields. Sorry, old habits die hard. My name is Matti and welcome to another tutorial. Now we've talked about gimbals and how to use them properly and all that kind of stuff, but let's talk about specific gimbal moves that I really like to do and some tips on how to pull them off. If you're interested, the gimbal I'm using here is the Zhiyun Crane 2, which is a really good gimbal. Probably one of the best, if not the best, smaller gimbal for heavier, bigger cameras because of the big cradle. Because of the big cradle, you can fit really big cameras. Now, I also did order, you can order a bigger arm here so I can put my 1DX on here. I'm gonna try it out, give this another shot. Maybe it'll be the contender to finally retire the GlideCam 2000. Let's see, we'll give it another shot. If you're interested in this gimbal, I'll link it down below. Oh, and if you haven't, check out the merch, travelfields.com. It's all on there. All right, let's get started with one of my favorite shots. You guys see me do this all the time, and it's the low to the ground follow shot. Now, I've found that the lower you go, the better. The ground just whizzes by when you get really nice and close to the ground. And for me, I like to use a pretty wide lens for this shot because it just makes it a lot more dynamic. The movement of the legs and the ground whizzing by, it just looks really cool on a wide angle lens. A couple tips here is to actually flip the gimbal upside down. That's gonna be the easiest way to do these shots where you're really low to the ground. Now in this case, because the lens and the setup was pretty big, I couldn't actually just flip it around, so I was just tilting it down. Now you got to be careful with this because it does introduce some shake really easily because the gimbal just doesn't perform the best when it's like that. At least that's what I found. So be careful about how hard you're walking. Try to do a bit of a ninja walk. It's gonna really smooth it out for you. This is the one shot that I find introduces a little bit of shake a lot of times on gimbals, so be careful with this one, but it is a really cool look. Next we have the very typical follow shot, which is basically just having your character walk and you're following behind them, kind of at a shoulder height, but you can go a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but you're basically just following your character. And I shot some examples of a wide, medium, and a tight shot just to show you the different things that you can do with this one shot. I find that the wide shots are really good for introducing the environment, showing the location, whereas the medium and tight shots are better at kind of going in the perspective of the character, really making a more subjective experience for the viewer, kind of like you're experiencing what the character is experiencing. I also find it's a little bit more mysterious. Everything's kind of blurred out. You don't know what's going on if you use the tighter shots. Overall, this one's really simple. Just get your character walk straight and just follow them. This one's pretty easy. Next, we have the lateral follow shot, which is really similar, but we're walking beside the character now instead of behind them. Again, this is a pretty straightforward shot, but it's a really cool shot because you start seeing more of the character's face, so it's a nice way to kind of introduce the character, give the audience a little bit more information about who this is. And for this one, you want to make sure you're planning out the shot a little bit more where you're walking. You can't just kind of tell the character to walk and follow them because you can't really see where you're walking. You don't want to trip into something, so plan it out so you're not bumping into anything. But other than that, it's a pretty simple shot. Next is the leading shot, where I'm literally just in front of the character walking backwards and the character is walking along with me. Again, a super cool shot because you see a lot of the character, and for this I like to stick to kind of medium and tight shots because this shot is all about the character, who it is, what's going on their face. And the big key here is how the person walks. You don't want the person to be looking into the camera, so you need to kind of instruct them to kind of look around, act natural, look past the camera and not look into the camera, unless you're going for that kind of look, but most of the time you're not going to be going for that. And this shot is really tricky because you're walking backwards and you can't see at all what's going on behind you or where you're walking to. You got to be kind of looking at the character. So what really helps here is to have another person that's going to lead you backwards. And for this, it's really easy. Just have the other person grab your shirt and guide you backwards, leading you to wherever it's safe to walk to, so you're not crashing into anything or falling into the water or anything like that. Next, we have what I would call a circling shot. So we're just gonna circle or rotate around your main character. Now you can do this in a really small, slow, kind of tight way, or you can go a little bit wider and move faster around the character if you want. There's a lot of different ways of going about this shot. I really like to use this shot for close-ups. I think it's a really cool way of just getting a nice close-up and getting a little bit of movement in there instead of just having this static shot. Plus, it just brings a lot of attention to your subject because the subject is kind of staying still, it's rotating rotating a little bit, but then the background is really kind of moving and changing a lot. So it really draws the viewer's attention to your subject. Really cool shot, but make sure to do it nice and slow. Don't go crazy with it. But you can also go for something like a Michael Bay effect where you're sticking on a zoom lens, which I don't do very often because it's really tricky with a gimbal. But then you're gonna get this kind of crazy effect where the world is just whizzing around your character. It's a really cool look. I just don't do it too often. And then lastly, what I like to do is a dolly forwards or dolly backwards. And this is just basically having your subject stand still and you're gonna move the gimbal closer and closer to the person. It's a really cool move. I really like this one because it just draws the viewer's attention straight to that subject because you're getting closer and closer to it. But you need to make sure that you have really good autofocus for this shot. Otherwise, it's not gonna work out at all. And this is one of the big reasons why I like the Canon 1DX2 because the autofocus is just so good. I can rely on it every time. Plus 120 frames per second. It's just a really cool look. If you don't have good autofocus, you can actually move to the end of your shot where you end off, make sure it's in focus, and then move back and then move into that focus. That's gonna be a bit of a different look, but it's still kind of doing the same thing. Okay, so those are some of my favorite gimbal moves, but we're not done yet. The best moves actually come when you combine the different kinds of moves. For example, maybe you're doing a follow and a circle around your character, or you're doing a lateral shot and then dollying closer. You can mix and match these movements in any way you like pretty much. Now they are really tough to do and they take a little bit more coordinating, but that's when the really good stuff starts to happen. Or you can do a few of these different moves in succession, so one after another. This is what we call a oneer. It's a long one-take shot with a whole bunch of different stuff going on. So for example, here I started with a low follow shot with the feet, then I go up to a normal follow, then we move into a lateral follow, and then we kind of dolly into the truck. Then we have this shot going on for a little while we're in the truck. And then the truck stops and then we circle around and then we go to a leading shot. So we basically combined all of these different shots into one long, really cool shot. And guess how many takes it took to get this shot? Just one. This is where gimbals really shine. This is something that I could never do on a Steadicam. It would take me so many tries and I probably would never get it very good. But with a gimbal, all it took was one try. Gimbals are really good for these kinds of shots where you're just trying all sorts of crazy stuff and it's gonna stay stable. And that is the biggest reason why I'm still looking for the perfect gimbal to replace my glide cam, where I can use the gimbal and have it work really well and not have any issues with it or have it slow down my workflow. I really want to replace my glide cam. P.S. I think it was really funny that some of you actually thought I was sponsored by glide cam because I was talking bad about gimbals. You do realize that I use a 6-year-old glide cam that I bought 4 years ago used. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed these gimbal moves. If you did, hit that like button. All right, that's it for me. See you in the next one.